So far, over the past couple of weeks, Joe Biden has been strongly supportive of Israel, warning Iran to back off and stay out of the conflict with Hamas. Now he's set to visit Israel on Thursday, our time, to show support for America's key ally. Here's the Secretary of State making the announcement earlier today.
On Wednesday, President Biden will visit Israel. He's coming here at a critical moment for Israel, for the region, and for the world.
I asked our US commentator Kristin Tate whether the president will show the strength and resolve that Israel is looking for.
I certainly hope so, Chris. I will say I've been happy to see him be so pro-Israel outwardly for the last week. Obviously, there are many politicians in his own party who are not doing so, and in fact are, in my view, being very outwardly anti-Israel in a very disturbing and disgusting way. Now, as to whether he will be strong enough and show the kind of leadership that both Israel and frankly, the entire West needs to see right now, that's an entirely different question. I don't have as much hope there. We've seen this president be a complete disaster on the foreign policy front from the beginning of his tenure as president. Who can forget the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan that saw tens of billions of dollars in weapons left behind to be in the arms of terrorists, some of which may have even been used by these attacks on Israelis.
Yeah, let's hope he can really portray and deliver some strength, because there's no doubt that Iran has been emboldened, and that's probably fueled into the way that Hamas has been emboldened. And look, you can't help but draw the contrast. You mentioned that withdrawal from Afghanistan. That really showed Joe Biden's weakness. And you can't help but draw the contrast with when Trump was president. In the Middle East, we have the Abraham Accords. We had Arab nations actually establishing diplomatic relations with Israel. And yet now, under a weaker president, we see all hell breaking loose, and he's going to have to try and put the shell back together again for a while.
That's right. And Joe Biden, let's not forget, he campaigned on return to normalcy. That was his big campaign slogan. And a lot of independent voters and suburban mothers bought that, and they went and voted for him. But ever since that disaster in Afghanistan, his poll numbers have not rebounded from that, regardless of Trump's bombastic tweets and the fact that you might have not liked what he said in terms of his, colorful rhetoric at times. In terms of policy, he was actually a pretty level-headed, strong leader who did bring normalcy to this country in terms of policy. We had peace in the Middle East. Our economy here at home was booming. We had a secure southern border. Life was pretty good in Trump's America.
Yeah, of course, the media still just criticises and mocks Donald Trump relentlessly. Now, there's plenty to criticise him about, but as we've both pointed out, his record on foreign policy was one of strength, and that led to peace and certainly some pleasing developments in the Middle East. But have a look at this Saturday Night Live clip where they mock Trump, suggesting he'd be an idiot when it comes to these matters.
Former President Trump went out of his way to praise the terrorist group Hezbollah, calling them, quote, very smart. Though in Trump's defense, he thinks Hezbollah is the genie from Aladdin.
Yeah, very, very funny. But it so happens that Hezbollah didn't dare move while Trump was president. Yet when you have a look at this clip from a serious interview on 60 Minutes this week, Joe Biden gets Hamas and Hezbollah confused, but thankfully realises it and corrects himself.
It would be a mistake for Israel to occupy Gaza again. But to going in and taking out the extremists, the Hezbollah is up north, but Hamas down south is a necessary requirement.
Yeah, that's right. Hezbollah, the Shia terrorist group, directly sponsored by Iran in the north, President, and Hamas, the Sunni terrorist group, also sponsored, though, by Iran in Gaza, causing all the trouble at the moment. Let's hope he gets his lines right in Israel. Kristin?
I certainly hope so. This is part of the reason why so many on the left are just really hoping they will be able to convince Joe Biden to step down and make way for another candidate in the upcoming election. It is clear that this man is not capable of doing this job, especially during a time like this.
Well, we've talked before about moves within the Democrats to try and find someone else who could take over the candidacy for the next election if Joe Biden decides not to run or indeed pulls out before then. We've talked a lot about Gavin Newsom, of course, the Democrat governor of California, but you've mentioned a couple of times Gretchen Whitmer, who's the governor of Michigan. Here's a bit from her a couple of months back.
I have confidence that Joe Biden will get a second term and an opportunity to continue this work. But we take nothing for granted. We take no person for granted. Every person in this country is important. Every person deserves a path to prosperity and a leader who's not serving themselves, but serving the public.
Kristin, tell us a bit more about Gretchen Whitmer and whether she has been doing much lately that suggests she could be having an eye on the prize.
Yeah, you know, when I watch videos of Gretchen Whitmer, I'm reminded of Hillary Clinton. She has a very similar aesthetic to her. She is sort of this intelligent sounding, soft spoken in a way, yet very clear sounding woman who it just projects strength. On policy, though, Chris, she is a radical leftist. She is a radical leftist, kind of disguised in a nice package with rhetoric that sounds more moderate. But do not be confused about that. She is a radical leftist like her ilk on the far left wing of the party. She has run Michigan into the ground. She's been a terrible governor there. She has sought to disarm law-abiding citizens in her state. But yes, she is a rising star on the left. And Republicans should be very, very fearful of her because she would be a formidable candidate and harder to beat, much harder to beat than Joe Biden.
Hey, Kristin, we're nearly out of time, but I've just got to get your thoughts on this. I hear that the one bit of Australian news that's cut through in the US this week has been that kangaroo trying to drown a dog in the river.
That thing is going to give me nightmares, Chris. That image, I saw it this morning. It's like, you know, the one time a year that I see Australian news was this morning. On the one time I see Australian news in U.S. outlets was this morning when I saw that image of that terrifying kangaroo. I've wanted to come to Australia for years. It's been a big dream of mine, but I saw that image and I thought, I don't know, I'm a little scared of being attacked and eaten by one of these terrifying beasts that you guys have roaming around. So
don't worry, Kristin. Don't worry. There's never been a kangaroo has killed an American tourist yet. Most of them will just hop away. Yet. Great to talk to you. Catch you next week.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the odd kangaroo attack, but nobody's been eaten by a kangaroo yet either.